Hey everyone, just waiting for some more people to get in here. Hopefully you can hear me. If you're able to comment, somebody leave a comment or something so I can know you at least can hear me. Jason, thank you, sir. I don't know why the hell it looks like I'm freezing a little bit. Let me try to solve this issue. What the fuck is going on here? You are the man. Looks like my video is like freezing. I don't know why. It's like I'm lagging. I just bought a brand new laptop. That certainly should not be happening. Yeah, that's probably the issue. No, we're just going to be watching a video anyway. So hopefully, let's see if the video works. I'll play a second of it. Oh, what the fuck? I'm like frozen.
Something happened at the National Press Club in January that is not getting nearly the attention that it should be. We ended up getting a meeting with that doctor on the same visit, and he...
Yeah, looks like that's... Jason, I absolutely will do that because I don't know what is going on. It's about like a monster laptop that I thought was going to solve that issue. I think it's because I have this video playing, maybe. Let me remove the video and see if that fixes it. Yeah, looks like that worked. All right, I think it fixed itself. Maybe I just needed to give it a minute. Hey, whoever's listening, thanks for stopping by. For some reason, Twitter doesn't allow you to comment from Twitter. I don't know why. We're going to have to take it up with Elon Musk. This isn't internet, it's usage of your CPU. Jason, you are the man. Um, I'm going to text you tomorrow and we'll get on a call and maybe you can walk me through how to fix this. That would be much, much appreciated. Jason is a hell of a guy, everyone. So, what we're going to do tonight, I interviewed filmmaker James Fox not long ago. So, I figured it might be fun to get on here and watch it together, especially with all the everything going on. With the release of the UFO files, all that good stuff. I thought it would be kind of a good time maybe to get into the video. So if you go on, yeah, I don't know. It was just like seemed like right in the beginning, Jason. I don't know why the hell that happened, but so now at least I'll know to give it a minute or so before I really start. So like I was saying, Twitter doesn't allow you to comment. So, but if you go over to the YouTube channel, you can comment from there and you can actually participate in the discussion. Let me post the link actually so people can. The link to my YouTube on Twitter. So I'm going to post the link under the live on my Twitter for the YouTube. So if you want to watch on YouTube and actually participate in the conversation, that will be how to do it. It'll be in the comment section of this live on Twitter. All right, that is done. So, all right, I'm going to start the video. If anybody has any questions, anything like that, feel free to comment them. I'll answer as many questions you have. Also, if you have questions on anything that was released in the latest batch of UFO files, feel free to comment. I'll answer. This is going to be very informal. So any questions, just shout them out. God damn it. Jay, it's frozen again on my end. It's good. Is it fixed? Let me X some stuff out here. Am I frozen or are we working? I hope we're working. All right, so I'm going to play the video. Somebody let me know if I'm frozen or not. Hopefully not. So this is my interview I did with James Fox. James actually reveals brand new information, literally brand new on this podcast. So stay tuned. We'll talk about it when he says it. But it's very relevant. And it could lend further credence to one of the biggest UFO cases in modern history. So stay tuned for that. Jason, you are the man. I appreciate your help. All right, let's get to it. This is my interview with filmmaker James Fox. Or not.
Spills all to us on camera that he had face-to-face contact with a non-human cat.
Hang on. Son of a bitch.
Something happened at the National Press Club in January that is not getting nearly the attention that it should be. We end up getting a
This is very frustrating.
Something happened at the National Press Club in January that is not getting. Something happened at the National Press Club in January that is not getting nearly the attention that it should be. We end up getting a meeting with that doctor on the same visit, and he spills all to us on camera that he had face-to-face contact with a non-human, captured non-human intelligence. But for the most part, crickets in mainstream. There is zero doubt in my mind that both Carlos D'Souza and Dr. Atalo and everyone else were telling the truth, nothing but the truth, and the whole truth. We believe this guy's telling the truth. If it's true, it's the biggest story ever. So why would we not work on that? I just have one last question for you. You got it. You mentioned there was 2 new crash witnesses. Is there anything you can share about that? I mean, that came in literally as I was racing over
Jason,
to go on the podcast.
Jason, how is it looking? Is it lagging or is it good? Everybody go to the YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube. I would very much appreciate it. We have some really exciting interviews coming up that, or if you're interested in UFOs, you're probably going to want to see. Son of a bitch. I don't know why this is screwed up.
But we not work on that. I just have one contact, new revelations of alien encounters, which I highly suggest that you watch. James, welcome to Beyond Top Secret.
Hey, George, how are you, sir?
How are you today, sir?
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for making the time to come on. I have been a huge fan of your work for a lot of years, so this is surreal for me to have you on, and just thank you for making the time.
Oh, cool. I appreciate it. It's nice to know there are people out there that are admiring, the work. It's kind of a lonely. It gets a little lonely at times. But no, it
I
is. I appreciate that.
I was at the press club event in Washington in January, and I saw just the massive undertaking that must have been to put together. Let me just say, you have to be extraordinary just for being able to pull that off because it was absolutely incredible.
Thank you. It's the mainstream media primary. I mean, we're handing them one of the best, in my opinion, cases on a crash retrieval cases involve the American on a silver platter. And we're like, come meet the witnesses, come for free, come film it, come whatever. Members of Congress, and with all the talk of crash retrieval, age of disclosure, that film got a lot of mainstream attention and it's great. But there's no specific case. Well, this is the case, in my humble opinion, that will, settle this debate once and for all. And the fact that we put out a free event at the National Press Club, we even hired a gentleman. I don't know if he's okay with me releasing his name, but he did press for the White House. So he had all these contacts. So he was putting out that invitation personally to people that he's been dealing with. And we only got a small handful of mainstream, but the place was packed. I mean, it was great, beautifully attended. We had some influencers that were there. There's more stuff coming out about that. But for the most part, crickets in mainstream. And, but it's okay. I documented the whole thing and I'll be releasing it in a film and it will be seen by millions and millions of people. They'll be like, why didn't I know about this? Well, you didn't know about this because mainstream media failed you. That's why.
Do you think it's because they're just not interested, or do you think maybe there's some kind of pressure on how far they can go other than generic sound bites on the news?
Well, so I can't say exactly who this was, but there was a mainstream, very mainstream media outlet that was doing a story on our event, plus the closed door meeting that we had with members of Congress, with the witnesses from Brazil, the neurosurgeon, the forensic pathologist, the geography teacher, Carlos de Souza. And that was about 5 days prior to the National Press Club event. And the story was written, the story was edited, they hired a photographer, it was going to print. It would have been very big news. I mean, really big platform. It went to the Washington Bureau the night it was going to publication. Killed it. And I was sitting there going, boy, if that doesn't feel like somebody stepped on this for very deliberate reasons, I don't know what is. Like, it really felt sabotage. It really did. And I could be just being paranoid, but I don't think so. And there were other things that went down too, but it's okay. I'm used to it. I mean, when I put out the first cut of Moment of Contact, we hadn't had all those congressional hearings and David Grush hadn't come forward. I don't think people knew how to deal with that. It's getting more traction now, more acceptance, but this just comes with the territory.
I have to say, I probably don't think you're being paranoid because the topic itself is more popular in the mainstream than it's ever been in history. So if that wasn't a good piece for a newspaper or for, CNN, whoever the news outlet might have been, it just doesn't make sense to me that would not have been a natural fit for how popular the UAP subject is right now. So it seems it probably was deliberate to kill the story. Because from an editorial perspective, it doesn't make sense not to run it.
You could report on it and you don't have to say it 100% happened. You can report on it and saying, if this is true, this is the biggest development in the history of the phenomenon, because we're dealing with a neurosurgeon who claims to have had face-to-face contact with a captured non-human intelligence. That's kind of a big deal. That's never happened before. members of Congress asking serious questions, got to meet these people. So, yeah, but that didn't happen either. So,
Yeah.
but it's okay. This is used to it. I've been in the field long enough to know. I mean, out of the blue, didn't really pop until probably 2000. Sorry for yawning. 2006,
No, no.
2007. I'm going to guess. And the first version of Out of the Blue came out in 2000 or 2001, 2002, 2001, 2000. Really exploded, like really became very, very popular. And
Yeah,
and
it
I know
probably
what
played a big part in where we are today, to be honest with you.
yeah, and I know what I saw is, pretty popular today too. And that was shot. I mean, I released that in what, 2008, maybe? I shot it in 2006, 2007. So anyway, hey, it is what it is. We documented it. Members of Congress. There was a senator from Brazil. There's an investigation being launched into the flight logs. That's because you saw, we filed a FOIA to get the flight logs, and that came back from the CIA 3 years later. We can neither confirm nor deny. Your request is denied based on like some National Security Act that was signed in 1949. Blah blah blah.
That should tell you something.
I thought it did. I thought
Right.
it did. Seemed awfully suspicious to me.
Right. If there's nothing there, they just say, oh, we don't have any record. Whatever,
Yeah, man, I know. Isn't that odd?
Right.
Did you know?
I think, of course.
Yeah, I know. Not that many people talk about that, but that's okay.
And the UFO side, better than anybody. Everything kind of runs together. It's like a train of thought can't be followed for more than in 5 minutes by most people in our community. It's just a constant jumble of ideas, and it gets messy.
I jokingly say we're our own worst enemy because there's so much mudslinging going on within the community. I don't think the intel folks need to do a whole lot to discredit our efforts. Like, my gosh, I often think there's so much infighting, and then you have the skeptics, which is fair enough. I mean, it's perfectly normal to be skeptical, but you have the skeptics complaining and criticizing, like the likes of Dave Grush and Al Puthoff and Eric Davis and others, instead of trying to figure out a way to create a platform to enable them to give us those classified details to verify their extraordinary claims. That's what we should be focusing our attention on. Doesn't matter if you believe them or you don't believe them, because if it's true, biggest story ever. So why would we not work on that? How about that? As opposed to just like, anyway, this is what I'm focused on now, because that needs to happen.
Chip in for a second. If you're watching on Twitter, Twitter does not allow you to comment from Twitter. There is a link under the live on my Twitter page to come over to YouTube and watch, where you can participate in the conversation. Just wanted to throw that in. Hope you're enjoying. In spite of the freezing I have going on here, I'm going to try to get that cleared up tomorrow so it doesn't happen in the future. Actually, everyone, I think we're going to try to do this tomorrow when I get this fixed. I don't know what is going on. I don't know if it's the internet and there's too much going on with the internet. My son is playing a game upstairs on his computer, which definitely could be it. So, all right, let's try to do this again tomorrow. I apologize to everyone, but if we're going to do this, I want to do it right. because this is
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If we were all fighting for the same goal, I
frozen
think,
like
and the same
oil.
agenda of actual disclosure, that is what we would be doing. But the UFO community suffers from social media, just like every other subject of society, where everybody's just trying to get views. Everybody's just trying to make a couple of headlines for their own, instead of us being focused on a
Yeah.
shared goal. You know, whether you're a skeptic or you're a believer, the truth is the truth. It doesn't change. So
Yeah, and I feel the frustration. I get it. Mainstream media. I mean, I think about, the New York
Guys,
Times or
this is
CNN or
brutal.
Fox 2001,
All right, we're gonna continue
criticizing like the
this.
likes of Dave Grubb.
All right, everybody. I apologize. We're gonna continue this tomorrow. This really sucks. I'll be in a hotel tomorrow, so hopefully the hotel Wi-Fi is it. On my end, it's freezing, Jason, and I can't see. Could you see the interview? And mine, it's just a black. It's a black screen. Let me know. Could you see the video, like James talking and everything? On my screen, it's just yeah, okay. Yeah, it's me too. I see a black screen. I'm gonna remove and come back. Where were we? 46.
happened at the National Press Club in January. That is not getting nearly the attention that it should be.
We filed a FOIA.
But for what brought us to the National Press Club in January, and just a quick sort of way so people understand what happened.
Yeah, if anybody wants to check it out, you can watch it for free. I think News Nation did a live stream, so it's out there. You can just Google, James Fox National Press Club event, and I believe News Nation's got a full. I don't know, it's a couple hours or whatever.
Should be fixed now.
I've been
You
chasing
should be
down
able to
this
see
story
James.
about an alleged UFO crash and American involvement that took place in 1996 in Varginha, Brazil, for a long time. And I've been working with a guy, Marco Leal, my counterpart in Brazil. He's like a brother to me, on it the whole time, knocking on doors, chasing witnesses down, following leads. In fact, a huge lead came in 10 minutes ago. New crash witnesses, 2 of them. And, there have been some very significant developments on that case.
Sorry, guys. You know what I think it was that was causing most of that lagging? My son is playing a video game on his computer. That's a pretty demanding game. I bet my internet just couldn't handle that and this, because I hear him. He stopped now because I can hear him pounding the buttons through the ceiling. And I don't hear him doing that now. And all of a sudden, it's working pretty well. So maybe that is it. But Jason, we are gonna chat tomorrow.
Since the film first came out in 2022, I think it encouraged other people to come forward, to want to come forward, because we're taking it seriously. We're reporting on it seriously. So it's an ongoing thing. And then I was in Brazil in, let's see, that would have been January of 2025. I've been there 4 times in the last 12 months. But in January of 2025, I was interviewing a couple of forensic pathologists about the autopsy of the deceased military officer, Marco Cheriz, who allegedly grabbed the creature with his bare hands and then died. And there were new developments on that. And the guy that did, Dr. Giannini, who did the analysis of the tissue samples from the deceased military officer, was saying that on camera for this film, for this case, that he'd never seen this type of bacteria the way it was behaving ever before or since, that it was a very rare strain of bacteria.
Let me jump in here. So a few months ago, I think it was January, James Fox had a event at the National Press Club in Washington D.C., which I attended. So going into it, I was sort of on the fence on the Varginha case. I just wasn't sure what to make of it, but once I got there and you watched those witnesses testify live, I left that with not much doubt whatsoever that they were telling the truth as they know it. Um, they were emotional. They were very matter of fact. They described what they saw, what they heard, and there was quite a few of them, including an actual senior brain surgeon at one of the best hospitals in Brazil. It was a fantastic event. I got an education on the Varginha incident beyond what I thought I knew. It is available online, like James said. If you just Google, James Fox National Press Club event, you'll find it. I think pretty sure on News Nation they live streamed the whole thing. You'll be able to find it there. It's worth watching. It's worth listening to the witness statements. It was just a very powerful event. All right, back to James. As we go as well, if anybody has any questions on this interview, if you have any questions or comments on the release of the UAP material from the government that happened this week, that was very big news. Leave it in the comments. I'm happy to talk about anything you want to talk about. Thanks. Come on, James, talk.
Military officer was saying that on camera for this film, for this case, that he'd never seen this type of bacteria the way it was behaving ever before or since, that it was a very rare strain of bacteria that had evolved in such a way that he hadn't seen it behave like that anytime on Earth. So that was a big development. And while this was happening, we were trying to get to this other doctor who just so happens to be a neurosurgeon, who I jokingly say he was like trying to grab a bar of soap in the bathtub. We get him and then disappear, and we ended up getting a meeting with that doctor on the same visit, and he spills all to us on camera that he had face-to-face contact with a captured non-human intelligence that was at regional hospital back in 1996. We're like, oh my God, this is huge. So I reshoot the film. I include some of the congressional hearings and a snapshot of what's been happening in America. Then, these new developments on this case, and put it out there. And I thought to myself, if this guy's telling the truth, this is such a significant event. And we got the 30th anniversary of the case coming up January this year, 20th. I think I should, in honor of the 30th anniversary, I think I should do an event at the National Press Club, invite the media. There's all this attention on crash retrieval, age of disclosure, yada, yada, yada. So I decided to have an event at the National Press Club because I wanted the media and I wanted people to be given the opportunity, as opposed to just watching a documentary, to actually meet some of these witnesses. And so I set out, I came up with the idea in January of 2025, and it took I started actually putting it together with production partner Arlene and Marco and a handful of others, probably 9 months, probably took about 9 months. And there were going to be a lot more Brazilians there, but unfortunately their visas were declined. So I ultimately just got, I got the main guy, the neurosurgeon, and I got the forensic pathologist, and I got the geography teacher, Carlos de Souza, who saw the crash. And then we had taped, like we went back to Brazil a number of times, and we actually worked with the local mayor, and he gave us a nice environment with the podium and the flags. And so we gave statements and we presented those at the National Press Club. But I did the event because I wanted to provide an opportunity for people to meet this witness, introduce the case. It's one thing watching something in a film. It's another thing, meeting them and looking them in the eyes and shaking their hands and meeting their wives. And, so that's why I did it. And
Yeah,
and
and
also for the 30th anniversary, I wanted to really, do something to acknowledge the anniversary.
yeah, and it was a great event. And I can say, going in, to be honest with you, I wasn't sure what to make of the Varginha case. It was super interesting.
Yeah.
But the claims are like so, but once you actually, so I was there, I met the witnesses, I
Cool.
saw them speak, and when I left there is zero doubt in my mind that both Carlos de Souza and Dr. Italo and everyone else were telling the truth, nothing but the truth, and the whole truth. It was obvious just by listening to them and watching them, and I spoke to that was there felt the exact same way.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because I was in Texas and I reached out to Joe Rogan because I wanted Joe to meet the neurosurgeon, but he unfortunately, and I was there for like 2 days, probably 48 hours in Austin, Texas. And I reached out to Joe. I was like, hey, if you want to come meet us for coffee or shake this guy's hand, ask him any tough questions, come meet him. And unfortunately, Joe didn't respond. But heart, but for whatever reason, he didn't come meet the guy because I think it's one thing to watch someone on, even in the documentary, it's incredible. We tear up at the end, he's crying, I'm crying, like it's pretty emotional because I could feel his pain. I could feel the sense of relief after holding something in for 20. He didn't even tell his wife. Can you imagine not telling your wife?
What a secret to hold for that long. I mean,
And it's funny, it's not a first. I remember when I did the Phenomenon and I was covering the Rua Zimbabwe landing case and, Close Encounter of the Third Kind.
Yep.
And one of the witnesses, Emma, flew in from Australia. And I remember her saying something like, yeah, I had to explain to my husband the incident. And I said, what do you mean you had to explain to, you mean you were telling your husband why you were coming to America? She goes, no, well, yes, I was doing that, but I was telling my husband about the incident. Your husband didn't, you have kids with a guy and you didn't tell him that you had face to face. She goes, no, I never told him. You didn't tell I couldn't believe that.
yeah,
And I said, why? And she goes, I just tired of having to defend it. And I don't want to talk about it. And so she didn't tell her husband. And you get that often.
I could see that
It's
actually.
hard to imagine a witness not like I did a deep dive into Socorro. Now Socorro is probably one of the best, the 1964 Socorro UFO landing incident, Close Encounter of the Third Kind. That's probably one of the best, most well-documented close encounters of the third kind in
For sure.
Lonnie, I interviewed his wife, Mary. I was the only one to get her on camera. I interviewed the daughter, Diane, and Michael. Never released the coworker interview, but I will. And she's like, my husband never told me about it. She's like, yeah, it happened. But like, I don't know what he saw, but he was never the same. He made eye contact with that being, with one of the beings. There were two standing outside of the egg-shaped craft. And he made eye contact with one of them when he yelled out to them. And she's like, I don't know like what he saw, but he was never the same. And so it's inconceivable as someone from the outside to think like how a witness or how someone can experience such an extraordinary event and not tell their partner, their wife, their husband, or but that happens. It happens a lot.
Well, you got to think, I guess, about that. Like, it has to actually come up close to a non-human intelligence. It has to be like a soul-shattering experience, and to relate that to another person, you have to tell the story. Do I want to go through all those feelings again? Is he or she gonna think I'm crazy? Or there's probably a whole lot of feelings that go into that. So they just bottle it up and take it to the grave, basically.
You know,
Or to James Fox.
do you know Jay Stratton, who appears in Age of Disclosure? He says in the film, I had face-to-face contact, right? With a non-human intelligence. Well, I probed him on that at dinner one night, and he's like, "Well, I've said pretty much, all I want to say." But his wife, interestingly, said to me, "Oh, it was almost like a hypothetical." She's like, "I said that I was having difficulty every time I came back from Brazil, talking about what I was uncovering and what I was doing in Brazil. I would go to an event, maybe a soccer event with my son and the other parents, you know, you're in Brazil, what are you doing?" And I wouldn't talk about it with anybody because they're not going to believe me, for starters. They're going to look at me like I'm nuts.
Right.
And so I wouldn't talk about it. I mean, people, now that the film's come out, it's a little different, but not that much different. But she said to me, and she was talking about Jay Stratton, but she was talking about in a hypothetical. She's like, imagine having face-to-face contact with a non-human intelligence and then trying to process that. Because I was saying that I was having a hard time processing. Every time I'd go to Brazil, I'm like, oh my God, these live aliens, the UFO crash, like it really happened. Like I was trying to process it. It's like, it's a big deal.
For sure.
I mean, one thing that everyone can agree on, if it's true, it's the biggest story, right? So she, by comparison, was like, well, imagine James at dinner with Jay right there. Imagine having face-to-face contact with a living, alive, non-human intelligence, looking him right in the eyes or whatever, and then trying to process that. And obviously she had to be talking about her husband. I mean, it must have been.
Sure.
He didn't say Jay, but Jay said on camera that he did have. So, boy, would I like to get the specifics on that one.
Yeah.
I don't understand like why he went out, why he said that, and he's not willing to go into any more detail. That's just weird. Do not give me more detail on that. Are you deliberately holding it off for a book that you're going to sell, or what's going on?
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. That's what there's got to be a book coming out.
Yeah.
But I would sure love to hear that story because, you and I both know he's a pretty serious guy. So to say that is pretty incredible.
I always want to know, like, I was talking to somebody about this morning because when I interview someone, I want to know more than just like, every second. I want to know every millisecond. When I'm breaking a story down, like I know I drove Dr. Italo nuts because one or two nights prior to the event at the National Press Club, I was drilling him down on. I was like, okay, you're standing here. The creature's here. Here's the bed. Where's this guy? Who else was in the room? Like, what happened? Where did you stand? How did you see him? Where was the alien? What was he doing? Down to like, I don't want to hear what you were doing every second. I want to hear what you're doing every millisecond. I want to know exactly where you stood. I want to know where that stood. And he was patient and he went through it with me. But I must have spent 4 hours on a 2 to 3 minute encounter going over it. Along with what I'd already done with him on camera. I was going through every single, I call it every frame, 30 frames or 60 frames to a second of video. I want to go through all those frames. You know what I mean? So.
Well, you're so good at what you do.
Well, because I want to be there. What did it feel like? When did the communication occur? Like I want every bloody detail I can possibly extract out of you. Because that's important.
Absolutely. And that really comes across. I think that's what makes you unique. You can see your passion for the subject and your passion to want to know all of that information. And it really bleeds through just in this doing. It bleeds through in your movies, and I think that's what makes you unique in the field is, you're one of us. You're just smarter than most of us.
No, I'm
And
not. I'm just really
no,
curious.
you're pretty smart. You're pretty smart, James. No,
Hey,
no
can I
doubt.
ask you? You've got. I know you've got. I want to believe poster, and then you've got another one. It looks like a landed disc, or
That the one of the picture up here,
is that
that
Ben
is
Waters? What is that?
supposed to be Wright Patterson.
Oh,
And it's the Kexsburg acorn in the middle of it.
okay, okay. You know,
I
I met.
actually got that in Kexsburg.
I a what's his name? The guy that wrote the book on it, did a doc. Oh, here it is.
Oh, I know who you're talking. He's from not far from there.
He did this.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
What
can't
the
believe
hell is
I
his
happen to
name?
have that right here.
Yeah, no kidding.
What is? I'm so sorry, and I'm not going to stop until I get it.
Yeah, I can't think of his
What
name either.
I know, I I met with
I
him,
think
and he
he's
was
from
amazing.
Greenville, PA or something, which is not far from there.
Oh, I observe.
Not think of his name. Let me see
What
if I can.
in
No.
the bloody? How could his name not be on the cover?
Yeah, you think it'd be plastered on the front cover.
Right?
Kexsburg. What's the name of it?
I thought his name. Well, it's called UFO Crash Kexsburg: The Untold Story.
Let's see if his name comes up. His name's not even coming up on Google.
Ray something, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Ray. I know the guy you're talking. He's from
Yeah.
there.
I
I
feel
cannot think of his
terrible.
name.
I'm so sorry, Ray. If you're listening to this, I apologize profusely. Anyway, we'll figure it out. You guys can go.
Yeah, we'll get it. I'll put it in the notes.
So that's what that other poster is. Boy, I tell you, don't you want to know? Like, I did a when I was making I Know What I Saw. I was broke as per usual, and I was in San Diego, um, and I was doing side jobs. I was doing real estate stuff, and then I did this like commemorative. They're probably dead now. Gosh, the guy was turning 80, and his wife uh, hired me, and I'll think of her name. Jan Seacrest was her name, and she hired me to do a surprise video of her husband who was turning 80. I was 39, and now I'm 57. So that was what, 18 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he'd be 98 now. I don't even know if he's alive. But anyway, they were paying me well, $100 an hour, and I was editing this thing. And she goes, James, like, what do you do when you're not editing videos for me? And I was like, oh boy, here we go. I told her, and I was expecting the typical, like, really, but she goes, oh my gosh, let me tell you, back when I was in college, the guy that lived in the hall down the way came and they were having drinks with him one night. Her and her girlfriend had the son of, I believe it was General, not Curtis LeMay, not Ramey. And
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. The famous Twining memo.
his son, according to her, was having drinks with them. I think it was in the 60s at their, dorm room. And he said to her, back then, and her roommate,
Pay attention to this part. It's one of the most interesting parts of the interview. If it comes back on, I don't know why I'm frozen here, but yeah. And thank you for watching. It was absolutely great to have him on. We'll get back up and running here. Give me 1 second.
hired me, and I'll think of her name. Jan Seacrest was her name. And she hired me to do a surprise video of her husband who was turning 80. I was 39 and now I'm 57. So that was what, 18 years ago?
Yeah.
So yeah, he'd be 98 now. I don't even know if he's alive. But anyway, they were paying me well, $100 an hour. And I was editing this thing. And she goes, James, like, what do you do when you're not editing videos for me? And I was like, oh boy, here we go. I told her. And I was expecting the typical, like, really? But she goes, oh my gosh, let me tell you, back when I was in college, the guy that lived in the hall down the way came and they were having drinks with him one night. Her and her girlfriend had the son of, I believe it was General, not Curtis LeMay, not Ramey. Anyway, whatever. Nathan Twining.
Okay, yeah. The famous Twining memo.
His son, according to her, was having drinks with them. I think it was in the 60s at their, dorm room. And he said to her back then and her roommate that his father had taken him down below the Pentagon, and there was a repository of the most staggering UFO photographs and video footage that you could ever imagine. And then he showed her all this stuff.
Me?
That's what she told me. I swear on my life, that's what she said. Yeah, and I'd done a little bit of digging into it, but that's what she said to me. Yep.
Wow.
And she's like, yeah, and she's like, we were having drinks with him. Why would he lie? Like, but that's what he said.
Zero purpose to lie. It makes no sense to lie.
But you keep hearing little things like, yeah, yep. Well, we know, look, Immaculate Constellation, Matthew Brown, and members of Congress have seen stuff. I mean, obviously, I asked Senator Harry Reid, are you saying that some of the evidence hasn't seen the light of day? And he takes a sip. Remember that scene?
Yeah, absolutely.
He takes a sip of water, and I think he just said, the hell with it. And he goes, so the evidence hasn't seen the light of day. Whoa, that was an atomic bomb he dropped. That was a big deal.
No doubt about it. Someday something besides an airport should be, whether you're Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think he kind of got this whole ball rolling back then. And he did more for this subject than
big time
than any other politician.
That film was finally broke through on a massive scale, comparatively speaking, into a much more mainstream audience. Finally, I tried to do that film for over 20 years when it came out. So what was it? 97. Let's see. That would have been, I started in probably 94, probably 1994 is when I started really doing a document, my first film. So how long ago was that? That's a long time, right?
Oh, now we're talking 35 years, somewhere in that area.
30, probably 32, 30, yeah, something like that. Well, 96, so it would have been 32 years.
32 years, yeah. I graduated in 99, so that is correct.
You graduated from high school?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. I graduated from high school in 86.
Did you really?
Yeah, so what are we 14 years apart or?
Yeah, 14.
Yeah, so you're 40.
44, I think.
44 is great.
45?
You know what? It's really, this sounds crazy for me to say, and you're going to go, what is he talking about? Especially if you're in your 30s and 20s. If I could go back to one age, it would be 45. If you could go back to one age and stay that age for life, it would be 45 for me.
Really? Why? How come?
Because you're still youthful enough where you can do all the things. And I'm really fortunate at my age. I'm still doing a lot. I mean, I hike and I bike and I whatever. But 45 is a nice, because you're getting taken a little more seriously. You've been beat up. You've been around the block a few times. You've dealt with, you just have some life experience, 45 is
That
great.
makes me happy because that's pretty much how old I am. So that makes me
Yeah.
happy.
So enjoy being 45. Even though you feel old when you're 45, don't. Enjoy it.
I'm gonna because it's probably only gonna get worse, I'm sure. No, this is the best I have to look forward to.
Oh my gosh. Well, one of the reasons why I'm so sorry, I feel terrible, but I asked for this podcast to be put earlier, and then of course I forgot like an idiot because I go to a workout class.
What do you do? Like
Well,
what?
I go do weights and it's a hit class
That's
and
great.
I
And here
hate
I'm
it.
wasting your time talking about age.
I hate it when I'm there. I love the way it makes me feel afterwards. We stretch. I won't do it on my own. And I never thought I would be the guy that would go and do that kind of stuff. Never. But as I got older, and I edit right there in that chair, and I'm a wreck at the end of every movie I ever make. I mean, I was really bad at the end of The Phenomenon. I was bad at the end of the program. I was bad at the end of Moment of Contact. I was bad at the end of Contact New Revelations. Like I pushed myself and pushed myself, and I realized I'm getting older. I have to do. I need to do work out. I need to move my body. And I do it 3 days a week, and it really.
That's great. You don't recover like you used to.
I don't recover
So
like I used to, but it enables me to continue. I'm going to stretch out what years I've got left and be able to continue doing. Like I was hiking up a mountain, going to overlook Area 51. There's one vantage point left that you can hike up to. And let me tell you, mate, that hike was so brutal that I almost left one of my guys on the mountain. He was like, leave me, I can't. I was like, on your feet, soldier. You know, I had to lock arms with him. I'm not exaggerating. He was like, leave me here, I'm done. I was like, you'll die. Like you're gonna freeze to death.
could you see into Area 51 from up there?
Yes. Yes. But it was he was like, leave me. I was like, Dave. And he's like, I don't know, 15, 16 years older than I am. And he's like, leave me here. I was like, dude, you're gonna die. No, I'm not leaving you here. And I locked arms with him and I dragged his ass out of there. I'm not making this up. But I was thinking to myself, thank God I take, relatively decent care and I could do that.
You both would have still been up there.
Yeah, he would have. He was like, just leave me. It was like a scene out of a movie. I was like, dude, I'm not leaving you. I'm not leaving you up here. I was like, on your feet, soldier, on your feet. I locked arms with him and I dragged his ass out of there. I'm not exaggerating. I swear I did. Yeah. He'll tell you.
Good thing
saved
you're
my
taking
life.
those classes. So when you brought the witnesses into
Yes.
Representative Burchett's office,
Yes.
was there anything said in there? I just saw a short clip of it.
Yeah.
Could you reveal anything that was said in there that has not made it public yet?
They, particularly Burleson and Luna, they were very interested in the neurosurgeon. They asked very specific questions of communication, what the creature looked like. Like, I was pinching myself. I'm like, never did I ever think, A, that I was going to get the neurosurgeon to come forward, B, that I was going to introduce what I consider to be the most significant first of the phenomenon, meeting with sitting members of Congress, and that they were going to take the allegations very seriously. And that was extraordinary to watch. I mean, that meeting went on for over an hour, and they were asking everybody very poignant, focused. Burleson and Luna in particular were very, very, they were leaning into it, talking with him, shook his hand. And I think they walked away. In fact, I know they did. They walked away going, wow, we believe this guy's telling the truth.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. That came across in the meeting that, we haven't really talked about. I wasn't allowed to film the whole thing because there was a big news outlet that was there covering it. And they're the ones that the story got written. It was all approved, edited, photos, done. It was going out. And then it got stepped on. And they stepped on it at the 11th hour too late for us to pivot to somebody else. Like they killed, they
Oh, man.
devastated. I was so upset.
Tell me that wasn't on purpose.
It felt like it.
Yeah.
It felt like it. It was, yeah. Anyway, whatever. I have to move forward. I can't focus on the past.
Yeah, exactly. One other question on American Alchemy with Jesse Michaels.
Yes.
See there. I just wanted to give you a chance. Is there anything to clear up there, or as far as the story goes, anything like that?
So, I never watched that, but I
Okay.
should. I was there. I was actually upstairs talking with Hal Puthoff. And when that interview went on, I just figured to have at it. But I've heard people like, oh, well, because it's weird because when you, like, I put myself in his shoes and I'm going, you didn't bring up to the guy that shot the video, like, you didn't talk more often about like XYZ? No, we just didn't really talk. I'm like, how could you not? Oh, he showed the video to a bunch of people. Like, well, what about? So it was weird. Like, it was like, how could you not talk about that stuff? But the biggest issue I think people have had with Dr. Italo is the fact that he's went on video with us. The first time we found him over we reached out to him because we heard that he'd seen one of the videos of the creature. We were after that. And he confessed, to my amazement, I think it was like 2 years ago. He confessed over a Zoom call. My buddy Marco was in his office, and that he'd seen the video. He gave us the name of the guy that shot the video. He had just died of a heart attack, Marcos Venices. So we were, but when he was pressed further, and I wasn't there after that, but he did say to me on the Zoom call, yeah, I saw the video. This is the guy that shot it. It's real. I saw it. And then when Marco pressed him further, he denied any further involvement. But then he had a heart attack. But that was us that filmed him. So people are like, oh, he's changing his story. Yeah, that happens. But he is willing to take a public lie detector test. He's not selling his story. He's not asking for a dime. He's not pawning anything off. He's still the lead neurosurgeon. So if he is lying, he'd be lying to his wife. I met all the fellow doctors. I think you have the clip. He'd be lying to his wife, his coworkers, his colleagues, his staff in the hospital, his kids. Like, for what? It's like,
I could not agree more.
I don't see a motive. I don't see a motive. And it's just like, and not only that, but we have the forensic pathologist. We now have the chief of police, Pedro Aguiar, talks about, so it's not, you'd have to discount the case, you'd have to discount so many more people than just Dr. Italo. And Dr. Italo is like, if he was going to lie, why wouldn't he say it was brown and stinky like the girls? He said it wasn't stinky. He didn't remember it being stinky. And it was more white. But it had the teardrop-shaped eyes. He said lilac, not red. That's different. He didn't remember it smelling. I was scratching my head going, well, when it looked out the window, what did it see? And he was like, blue sky and clouds. I was like, the second capture with Marco Shreves, that was at night. That was at 5:30. Probably dusk. And by the time they got to the hospital, maybe it was 6 or something in the evening. So he's saying that it was daylight. So was that a different creature? That was in the morning of January 20th. He's pretty positive it was January 20th. Well, there was another capture that the chief of police, Pedro Aguiar, witnessed, and that happened in the morning. So maybe that's the one he saw. Or maybe maybe the creatures have an ability to, maybe they're like chameleons. Maybe when it was suffering in the hot sun, maybe its skin turned brown, or maybe when it's feeling threatened or vulnerable,
who knows?
maybe it excretes some kind of putrid smell for protection, like a skunk. I don't know.
Right. Who knows? When I was watching that, I thought too, this is 30 years ago. To hold the guy accountable for every second of, I thought it was a little kind of unreasonable.
But that's okay. That's okay. I mean, there are questions that I have too, and I've drilled him. I asked him in front of all the doctors, how long have you known Dr. Italo? I was knocking on doors to every doctor every older doctor in the entire state. In the city of Varginha. Okay. I was trying to find out his credibility, like his character, and everyone is like, he's a stand-up guy. Why? What would motivate him? I mean, he had a heart attack.
I just have one last question for you.
You got
You
it.
did mention there was 2 new crash witnesses. Is there anything you can share about that?
Well, I just found, I mean, that came in literally as I was racing over
Oh,
here
wow.
to go on the podcast. I met a woman who works at the cemetery who said she saw the craft crashing with fire, hitting the ground, and then taking off again. Her sister was also there, and they're both traumatized. Her mother saw it, and they're both still alive. They live in near the farm where in Rico and Oralina. They're in the movie. They're the ones that saw the cylindrical shaped object with a gash in the back and smoke coming out the back. It felt it was one of the most important testimonies since the 3 of them witnessed the crash and were there when the UFO hit the ground and took off again. I felt a lot of sincerity. So 2 more witnesses, the mother and the daughter that saw that. So my point is, and I met a nurse when I was in Varginha in January. Just a couple, I don't know, what is it? January 23rd, 24th? So was that like 2 months ago?
2 months, right?
Italo's telling the truth. Dr. Italo's telling the truth. I said, how do you know? And I was there with a bunch of people that witnessed this. And she said, because I was there. So I was like, all right, what did you see?
Whoa.
And she described the scene just like Dr. Italo described, with the curtains, the makeshift this, ICU, all that stuff. I was like, wow, will you come forward? No, I've got too much to lose. Not yet. So, and then I contacted another doctor, and the doctor confirmed that he had seen the video, and that was as far as he wanted to go on it. So, you know, and it's been 30 years, and people are getting older, and people are retiring. So I'm anticipating a lot more people coming forward. And obviously our prized possession would be the video, and there's nothing that I'm not doing to get my hands on that.
You know where it is and who has it?
Well, theoretically, yeah. Yeah,
Right.
unfortunately, I mean, a lot of the people that had it are dead. I don't want to go into too much detail because, you know, but I have probably 5 leads. 2 of them are dead and 3 are still alive. But it's tough. It's not easy. It's not an easy get. I mean, honestly, at this point, I think the safest thing for them to do would be for them to just upload it on YouTube and put it out in the world, because trying to deal with me, they're watching me. They're, you know, as soon as they reach out to me, they're going to be on their radar, right? And that's potentially a problem. So it's a tough one. And I don't care how it comes out. I just want it out. Providence would be great. I mean, if a doctor shot it, and I believe doctors did shoot it, it would be great. I shot this video, then that would give it a lot of, you know, having the Providence would give it a lot of credibility.
Yep, for sure. Well, James, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's been an absolute honor to have you. You're always free to come back. If you ever have a message you want to get out, let me know. I'd be happy to have you on anytime, and hope you have a great workout today.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
All right, everyone. That was my interview with filmmaker James Fox. There was some really interesting stuff that was shared at the end there. There's a lot you can put together. So go back, watch the end of the last maybe 5-10 minutes of that again. Do some research. But these are serious breakthroughs. And if that video can ever be obtained and made public, that would go a long way to pretty much convincing anybody that, you know, this subject is for real. But James is an absolute great guy. You know, what you see on film is what you get. That's just who he is as a person. He's very passionate about this subject. And he's exactly the kind of person that we need in this field. So thanks to James for coming on. But yeah, thank you, Ralph. It is a cool interview. We are going to have some more interesting guests. I'm pretty busy in May. I just filmed an interview with somebody that's really interesting. It should be dropping in the next week or so. Then I'm interviewing a few other people before I go to the preeminent UFO event of the year, Contact in the Desert. So if anybody's watching Contact in the Desert, you see me there, come and say hello. I'll be covering it. I'll be doing interviews. I'll be, running around the place. So stop me, say hello. Let's talk about some aliens. You might even get a free T-shirt. I'll be bringing some stuff from our merch store there, and I'll be doing giveaways. So come and say hi. And if you're not familiar with Contact in the Desert, go to Contact in the Desert, the website, read about it, look at it on YouTube. Because if you're interested in this subject, and you can pick one UFO event a year to go to, Contact in the Desert is absolutely the one you want to be. And it's a few different things. It's very science-based and research-based, and there's very serious speakers. Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, Jacques Vallée. The list goes on and on and on and on. Go to the website. You can see the list of speakers. But it's not only that. Yeah, it's very serious, research-based. There's all kinds of panels going on and sky watches in the desert and all that kind of stuff. But they also call it the Woodstock of the UFO community for a reason. It's a party. It's a party for at least 3 days. It's at a beautiful resort in Palm Springs, California. So I hope you guys go. If you do go, say hello. It'd be cool to meet some of you guys. And what James said about how they're watching him. I know when a lot of people hear that, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, you're so important. But it is true. The government, sections of the government do watch certain people in this community. They do monitor them. They listen to their phone calls. They follow them to meetings. It's a real thing. Nobody, well, I don't want to say nobody, but people aren't just making that up all of the time. I'm sure there's some people that do for clout, whatever. But it's not the case with certain people that I know for a fact get monitored by the government. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to jump off here. I want to thank everybody for watching. All over 300 people are here watching this. I appreciate each and every one of you. If I can just ask you a favor, hit subscribe on the YouTube. I was focused on Twitter for a very long time. I wasn't really doing YouTube. I'm trying to get a little more serious at it. I'm trying to get better at it. And I would really appreciate the support if you can like, subscribe, all that stuff. It does. It goes a long way to help the channel grow and to get this stuff seen by more people. So thanks to everybody who's watching. Thanks to everybody who commented. Thanks, George. Thanks, Jason. And thanks, everybody, for being here. I'm going to do this more often, so stay tuned. I'll be doing lives. I'll be posting interviews, Q&As, all that good stuff. So until then, keep looking up, guys. Thanks for coming.